Hello! Thank you for being here. One second. I hear the neighbor. 1 second. Nothing like the professionalism of starting your show and immediately getting out of camera. Yeah! Hey, I hope everyone's having a great Memorial Day. I put out a little video for Memorial Day, just 2-minute one for those that didn't see it. If you're a veteran, if you have a family member that served, every veteran gives something of themselves, whether it be physically, emotionally. Thank you to all of you, and thank you to those that made the ultimate sacrifice. This country is the greatest country in the world because of individualism, because we recognize personal freedom and responsibility, and the ultimate in individual sacrifice to make this country great, better than anything I've ever done, is serving this nation and its armed forces. If you're someone who disagrees with some of the military conflicts we've been in, I'm there too. But those people that signed up and put their life on the line, they did the right thing regardless if the people that sent them did something wrong or didn't have things planned out it should be. So thank you so much to all of them. It's the only reason I could sit here and talk. And truly, I'm grateful to those people that everything I have in my life is because of them. So I really appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. So any veterans out there, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And I hope everyone had a great Memorial Day, and hopefully everyone had some time to reflect on our country and the liberties in it and the great people that sacrificed to make it worthwhile and possible. So thanks so much to everyone. Yeah, I had a busy Memorial Day. I was working. And so I was just watching American Joe's great live stream. Some of you I know were on there. So yeah, I love American Joe. And this is a day I think that, I tip my cap to him. There's a lot of people, American Joe, Doug Ducote. I know my buddy Drone Tech served in the military. I think Mike from the Patriot Hour that I work with served in the military. So those guys are fantastic. I feel just like a little sidekick, compared to them that actually put their body on the line to serve this country. So thanks to all those guys. I really appreciate it. And anyone out there that served that's watching. So I appreciate it. So yeah, I'm trying to revamp my channel in a good way. I think it'll be a good way. I got some exciting news to share with you all. I'll be able to share about my personal life here. At the end of the week, I'll be able to share more about that. What I'm trying to do with my channel is this. I'm going to try to be hitting consistent times. I'm going to be trying to put at least a video out a day. I'm going to be trying to set up multiple times that I'm doing live streams on different platforms. So part of that change will look like this. I think every Monday night, the time to be determined, 10 p.m., 10:15, I want to talk to some of the people I do shows with once in a while and collaborate with and make sure I'm not stepping on anyone's toes. But it'll be late, 10 p.m., 11 p.m. Eastern time, Monday nights. I'm going to do my fan interaction show where the topic's just going to be, I'll start riffing, and whatever people are talking about in the chat, if people want to call into the show, that's what we'll do. So this is going to be the first show like that. I'll still be doing my live stream Wednesday. I might consider doing a D-Live only live stream on Tuesdays. And then we'll see if I'm still collaborating with some other people in those days. I still have my radio show that will be on Saturdays. Quick apology about the radio show last time. So here's the deal. I don't know if you all know this about me. I'm kind of broke as a joke. I've lived paycheck to paycheck my entire life. I don't have good equipment. I'm running everything I do off a laptop. When I'm at work in my office at work here, I have the exact same camera, a different microphone. I have a traveling mic. The camera's the same. It's just what's it called? Logitech C920, I think. My laptop's just an HP laptop. So what happened was, because of things that went on with our producer, Todd Bartley, he was traveling, so I tried to host the radio show. My computer could not handle having a Zoom call with 4 people while recording and streaming live. So it was a mess. It was a mess. It lagged out the whole time. For some reason, it only recorded an hour and 15 minutes, even though it was a 2-hour show. So I botched it. We had some good guests. Look, I'm the type of person, you could put me in front of a million people at a moment's notice. I could talk. I mean, I'm not going to say I wouldn't be nervous, but I'd be fine. I could talk. But you asked me to do something production-wise, and I just fall apart. So, I know I'm, I hate being a grimy, send me money, but, when I ask for, support on Patreon or support on Super Chats or on D-Live, yes, you did, Kenneth. That's the type of stuff I'm trying to improve, and so that's what it's about. That the money goes into the channel, but that's not really what I like doing this channel for. I hate grubbing for money. I really do. Thanks, thank you, Modus. I love doing this, though. I think the radio, doing the radio show, we lost our call signal, which is a good thing, actually, because the producer of the show ended up selling the station. So we're going to have a new call signal come here in late June, early July. So we are physically on the radio. If you're driving through Williamsport and you got an FM radio, we'll be able to tell you right where to go. But I think it's great to kind of mesh. I'm trying to mesh different people, different audiences, not just political ideology-wise, though I do say in this channel all the time, if you're a Democrat, I welcome you. If you're a socialist, I welcome you. Like, we can chat it out. I love disagreements. I'm conservative. I am Republican. That's who I am. So, I'm biased, but I don't mind talking to different people that disagree. But I'm not just trying to merge those. I think there's a lot of people that are like-minded that are just on different platforms, whether it be through familiarity with platforms or something like age and things like that. So here in Western Pennsylvania, a lot of the staunchest Republicans I know and staunchest believers in freedom happen to be older people. They're not as familiar with things like DLive, YouTube. So I think it really is an opportunity to try to be myself that you see here, but do it on the radio and have me, that platform allows me to reach different people. It allows me to get more prestigious guests. I don't know what I'm supposed to say. The rumor has it, our guest last week that we had lined up was Dan Bongino, who's good friends with our producer, Todd Bartley. He has promised, I guess, to do the channel here at some point. So, for those of you that like what Dan, I love Dan Bongino. I think he's one of the best people in media right now. So I could talk to him for 10 hours. I have so many questions asked him. So, those are opportunities that I wasn't necessarily getting on my channel. So I'm pumped about that. Possible topics. I'm open to anything in the chat here in a couple minutes. If you want, if anyone wants to call in, just let me know in the chat. I have to go through the arduous process of putting my headphones on, but I think I can manage that. So I'll throw the number up later if someone wants to call in. I'm open for any topic. I've been focused on COVID. I think that, let me tell you a story about me. I remember going through a college campus. I graduated at a little state school. I've lived in Clarion County my entire life. It's a rural county in the middle of Pennsylvania. It's about an hour and a half northeast of Pittsburgh. I remember after 9/11 happened, years later, I was walking through campus of Clarion University, which is a state school, and it was the anniversary of 9/11. And they, that day, had just pushed a ban on smoking on state universities. State-owned universities, which Clarion University would be one. And I remember there were people that had tables set up, like students that were like, yeah, end smoking, this is a great thing, here's a free shirt. If you kind of sign on that you agree with this government declaration to end smoking on public campuses that are owned by the state. And I remember like getting in an argument with these students, because that's kind of nerd I am. It was like, isn't it ironic on a day where we were attacked supposedly for our freedoms? That's what it was about. That's what, Islamic terrorism is about. They don't like how free our society is. Isn't it ironic that we celebrate that by taking rights away? And that's the first thing after legitimately waking up and thinking, just staring outside and saying, it was a beautiful day here where I'm at, but just saying all of this around me is because great, brave people did more than I've ever done. They sacrificed themselves to defend this country. The immediate next thought I had after that is, what am I doing? What's my part in doing to make sure that sacrifice is continuing to be relevant? Whether it's celebrating those people that had that sacrifice, or it's defending the freedom that they fought for. And so, I think it's sad that on a Memorial Day, we still have so many people in positions of power that are trampling our Bill of Rights, our right to assembly, our right to free speech. We have tech companies that are doing it. We have governors that are doing it. We even have people in the federal government that are doing it. And so that's thanks, TM Mod. By the way, I have the best mods. You guys are great. I don't really do anything for you. I'm a schlub. I should be doing way more for you, and you guys are always there for me, so thank you. But yeah, that's what I was thinking today. Kind of those loss of rights, or the other story that I've been covering a lot, the Obamagate, as it's being called now, which is the weaponization of core institutions to go after his political opponents. I mean, the people that fought and sacrificed in all of the great wars and even the small conflicts, the idea that they were fighting for was so that we had a voice back home. And to find out that we're paying taxes and we are supporting a federal government that under Barack Obama was being weaponized to go after any of his political enemies, particularly Donald Trump, it's very disturbing. And the fact that none of them will, I'm with you, Vince here. The fact that none of them have so far faced actual justice in a court of law for their crimes is very disturbing. So yeah, those are two topics. If you want to, look, I know there are people that get me all the time. You don't talk about the Q stuff enough. You don't talk about, Bill Gates funding COVID enough and things like that. You want to talk about any of that stuff? We can get into it. It's not my cup of tea, but, I'm open to talk about anything. Vincher says, as each day passes, it will become increasingly difficult to justify the COVID shutdown. The reality is the numbers are proving that the shutdown is no longer justified. That is true. And not only that, the numbers that they're using are ridiculously inflated, as we've shown over and over again. I could show it anecdotally, and I could show it with actual evidence. So anecdotally, we could see that even Dr. Birx has criticized the CDC, saying that their guidelines were encouraging people, coroners, etc., to inflate the numbers. They were saying that if you had symptoms of COVID and you pass away, then they put that as a COVID death no matter what. I could show you literally in Pennsylvania, where I live, where coroners in Lycoming County and some other central Pennsylvania counties realized that our governor, Tom Wolf, was citing corona deaths in their counties that never occurred. And then when these coroners called it out, they had to adjust and remove 200-something odd deaths. Well, like anything, if you catch them doing it once, you know they're doing it more than once. So how many times have those numbers been inflated? And then we know not only that, but many of these deaths, particularly in these Democratic-controlled states, were because the governors actually set policies up to encourage COVID patients to be held at senior citizens' homes, at nursing homes, and other long care facilities, which then encouraged the spread of the virus amongst the most vulnerable population. So they point to the numbers. They say 100,000 dead. Those numbers are inflated. Those numbers, many of them are dead as direct policy implications from the fear-mongering lockdown people who had policies that encouraged the spread of this virus in the most vulnerable populations. And even with the numbers, they're showing the lockdown's not justified. So, it's just a mess. It really is. I recommend following he wouldn't know me, but an associate I had from my years in debate named Phil Kerpen, who's a journalist now. Follow him on Twitter, and it's just his name. It's like it sounds. I'll type it in here. Follow him. He does fantastic work breaking down every day the deaths by age groups, using CDC numbers, using state numbers. And, for example, as of last week, I believe, nationally, you know how many deaths we had? Or maybe it was statewide, regardless. From the ages of 5 to 14, 7 deaths of COVID. 7. Yet we've shut down elementary schools. We've shut down schools. They're talking about shutting them down into the fall. That's horrendous. This is quite literally the safest population. And in fact, the CDC admits influenza is 7 times more likely to kill, an average flu season, 7 times more likely to kill people under 21 than COVID. So why are we shutting down things for that? Yeah, I hear you, Modus. The numbers, but here's the problem. For many people, they trusted the experts, and they think numbers are science, right? And they don't understand that the numbers could be manipulated. And so once a threshold, if you throw a big number out and you say 100,000 dead, that justifies taking away your rights. A lot of people believe that. So I agree with you. It sucks. It's like getting in the mud. But sometimes it's necessary to get into those numbers and explain why they're inflated and what exactly they mean and how the numbers got that high so that you can reach those people that are, I guess, impressed by those numbers. Ford Nation says, wait for the contact tracers. They'll be coming around to give you your gold star and load you up and take you to your quarantine camps. Yeah. That's, believe it or not, I do have a lot of friends in my life that are Democrats or left-leaning. I would say all of them that I'm friends with are good, moral people. Some of them were for the lockdown, and that, even them, the contact tracer stuff's scaring the crap out of them. So for those of you who don't know, there's all sorts of things, whether it be a government official, whether it be a drone, whether it be forcing when you enter a restaurant to sign your name. The idea of contact tracing is that the government will now totally shred your Fourth Amendment right to privacy. Every step you take in your life will be traced by a government employee or some government agency. And then if there's a disease, we'll know everyone you were in contact with. Now, it's ironic. Think about this. Some of the very same people, not only does this violate HIPAA standards, which is your privacy medically, but it also violates your Fourth Amendment right to privacy. When you're looking at stuff politically, this is something I do well. I'm by no means a genius. I don't have some deep insight that other people don't have. But one of the things that I think that I do well, just because of my life experiences and being involved in debate, is I'm able to look at things in a big picture and say, well, wait a minute, if Group X is advocating something, what else is Group X advocating? And you'll start to see all sorts of these interesting juxtapositions of positions. So the very same, hey, thanks, Paul, Friends of Fishing, Paul, thank you so much. Schlub, I know, that's a great word for me. So, for example, you see Antifa that are anti-fascists that are currently in Germany, I believe, right now, rioting against people who want to end the lockdown. That's right. The anti-fascist anarchists are arguing for fascist government control of people's lives. And when you could point out those discrepancies, it lets you know that they're a joke. They're not who they claim to be. Well, the same's true here. The same people that are talking to us about contact tracing have for years now, many of them, been advocating to decriminalize if you have a sexually transmitted disease and you intentionally have sex with a partner and don't disclose that. They're working to decriminalize that. So when it comes to if you intentionally give someone HIV, oh, they don't have the right to know you had HIV. But we should have the right to know every building you ever enter, every meal you ever eat, every person you ever come in contact with in a non-sexual fashion. We should have the right to know that. That's the insanity of these people. And this is intentional. This isn't accidental. Because the idea is to legitimize immoral or destructive behavior and criminalize safe and good behavior. That's why you see they're letting violent criminals out of jail when it comes to COVID. But they're trying to throw business owners that just want to open their business into jail. That's what this is about. They'll censor you if you put information up on Facebook or Twitter or YouTube. You could potentially get censored if you talk about the COVID lockdowns being terrible. And if you talk about science that they don't agree with, they'll censor you. But if someone wants to get on there and push the CDC now debunked crap about, or the World Health Organization, that's perfectly fine. If a liberal person that hates Trump says we want to throw cement-filled milkshakes at Trump supporters, that's perfectly fine. But if you say anything back in retaliation like, hey, go F yourself, then you get booted. That's what this is about. It's straight out of 1984, a dystopian future, you know? Vincher says, the problem is all predictive models have been proven to be wrong. We have worldwide numbers now, and the numbers are showing that the virus is not as deadly as once thought. Yes, that's absolutely true. And the problem is, though, the way they set this up, and if you watched my channel in March when I first started basically screaming my head off about this was my point, and still was the right take. Because there were all sorts of people, even people on YouTube that are freedom-loving people and Trump supporters, even people I talk to on the internet that are so-called fiscal conservatives or constitutional conservatives. They would tell me, oh, we got to have the lockdown because this virus is going to be the worst. What if you're wrong, Rob? Well, I knew I wouldn't be wrong. For two reasons. Well, let's just stick to the one. The reason I knew I wouldn't be wrong was I wasn't claiming how deadly the virus would be. I said that if the government's going to take away our rights, guaranteed in the Bill of Rights and the Constitution, and if they're going to collapse the economy, it is incumbent on them to prove their case. They have to be as transparent as possible and answer some basic questions, such as, how many people are you saying will die? How did you come to that model? What is the probability that model is correct? What is the threshold for how many people will die or get infected when you think it becomes incumbent on the government to take away our rights and shut down the economy? What is your proof that taking away our rights and shutting down the economy will save a large amount of lives? And how many lives would that be? Simple questions that the government should have had no problem answering. Instead, they inverted it. They said, no, you prove we shouldn't shut down. That's not America. We're guaranteed our liberties. That's the way it's supposed to be. And in the time where we need to sacrifice and we need to give up some of those liberties for a short amount of time in order to solve some impending apocalypse crisis, then you have to prove that that crisis is going to come. You don't say, we're going to take away your rights, now prove you deserve them back. That's asinine. That's been my claim from the whole time. So if people said, yeah, but Corona could kill 1 million people. Fine. My take was just, let's see the government be transparent and prove that. Well, they weren't transparent. And I told you the reason they weren't was because the less amount of questions they had to answer and the less information they had to give, that would allow them in the future to say, see, we were right. So now when we point to the numbers, when we say the models were wrong, the lockdown was a disaster, they'll say, no. See, the lockdown saved millions of people. You already see it. The Imperial College model, which I've debunked on my channel, you can check out the videos, said 2.2 million Americans would die. So therefore, the fact that 2.2 million didn't die proves the government saved us by taking away our rights. It's ridiculous. Modus doesn't like the numbers, but likes the models. Manufactured by the Democrats and the Chinese. So here's my theory on where it came from. I don't think that the Chinese intentionally released this. I do think that they were weaponizing it in a lab. Not only in a lab, in a World Health Organization lab. And yes, I do know that there was funding from Bill Gates that went into that lab and other interesting people. But I do believe they were weaponizing it and it got out of hand. It got released somehow. So I don't think they intentionally released it on their own people first. And I'll explain this in a minute. It hardly matters if you believe they intentionally weaponized it or not, because once it was out, they took full advantage and they lied to the rest of the world about it and they encouraged its spread. And the World Health Organization ran cover for them. And so it goes without saying, I don't think the Democrats intentionally released this virus. And I do think the virus is killing people. However, one of the things that I talk to a lot... Look, I'm conspiratorial-minded myself, but I'm not as heavy into it as a lot of people. I'm on a website a lot above Top Secret. A lot of the people that watch my show are from that channel. Sometimes they believe in way deeper conspiracy theories than me. Some of my best supporters are constantly sending me information about deep conspiracy theories. My take on Q. It's not something that I really believe in, but I appreciate the people that follow it, that dig up the evidence themselves and have been really educated and motivated to pursue knowledge because of that. But I don't necessarily follow everything that they're saying. One of the things I say to a lot of more conspiratorial-minded people is, one, I'm not making fun of you or belittling you. Again, the mainstream narrative at this point is Jeffrey Epstein killed himself. That is the biggest conspiracy theory I've ever heard, and probably one of the most unbelievable. So who would I be to criticize anyone for any belief they have? But I don't think that everything needs to be a false flag or needs to be intentionally set up by the globalists. Because what they are, they're experts at exploiting tragedies that happen. So they don't have to intentionally pay every shooter to go out and commit violence, but they know how to exploit it. They don't have to create every hurricane, but they know how to exploit it. Now, are they involved in shadiness and the funding of Islamic terrorism? So absolutely, that happens. Western interests are funding Islamic terrorism all the time. Is George Soros involved in all sorts of things? Yes, I could prove it in Ukraine and have many times on my show. He was backing the National Anti-Corruption Bureau and the ANTAC, the Anti-Corruption Action Center in the Ukraine, that was accused of crimes by the Ukrainian government, that then Obama forced the Ukrainian government to stop looking into those crimes. That was a George Soros-Obama front in Ukraine. So, of course, that type of stuff happens. But I don't believe that the Democrats released this virus. They exploited it. That's what they did. Let me grab a water. I'll be right back. I'll get some more comments. Should have grabbed two. I get to flapping my gums so much here. Oh, someone's pushing to donate to me. Yeah, thanks, Paul. Thank you. I am great, aren't I? I'm just kidding. But I am trying to get better equipment. And look, just real quick on the donations. Again, I assure you, if no one gives me a dime ever, I'm still doing the show. It might be low quality. I'm still doing it. And I am who I am. I'm not going to change. I'm authentic. I turned down a job with Trump's team because of they wanted me to get rid of my channel. It's not going to happen. And I hope that carries me well when I run for office in 2022. I'm transparent with my thoughts. I hope I'm authentic when that comes across. And you might not like everything I have to say. I mean, that's the truth. I've criticized Trump a lot. I had a lot of people that were on me for criticizing Trump. But I at least hope you know I respect the disagreement, and I'm going to be myself. So, this background. So let me explain what this is about real quick. If you notice, when I have the American flag background, that was a good friend of mine, Preacher, that gave me that background. That's when I'm at home. When I'm in my work office here, after I clock out, I have this big flappy background that attaches to the back of my chair. The reason for that background is because I work in the medical field, there is a chance that if someone, I guess, really zoomed in the background without this, they could somehow find medical information. So just to check my butt, I have something like this. I know it's stupid, it's ugly, but it's all I could do right now. So, Let's see. Vinchair says, new findings published in the Annals of Internal Medicine suggest neither surgical nor cloth masks are effective at stopping the spread of COVID-2. Look it up. Yeah, I have seen that. In fact, there's a bunch of new stuff. The CDC came out, and they now think the IFR, which is the infected fatality rate. I would call it the mortality rate because I'm not an epidemiologist. So I've been talking about this for a long while. Real quick on masks. I don't know what the truth of masks is. As a layman, it would seem to me that a mask could help you from at least when you cough, spittle getting out. I don't think it necessarily helps stuff coming in, but that maybe if you had a virus, it would stop it from spreading. But let's not forget, the CDC said masks don't work. Dr. Fauci said masks don't work. Then they made it a law in my state and many other states that you had to have a mask on if you're out in public. So right out of the gate, the experts can't even agree on something simple. I'm not an expert on a lot of things in life. If I was an epidemiologist who specialized in how to stop the transmission of diseases, I think I'd have a pretty concise answer on whether or not a mask could work. Yet somehow they can't come up with that. The jury's still out. Yet because of feels, you got to wear a mask. Facts be damned. It's just the feelings. I do know this. That as someone who has asthma myself, if I put that mask on for more than 20, 25 minutes, it's really hard to breathe. And as far as asthma goes, I have a very light case of it. There are a lot of elderly people that it makes it really difficult. I know some personally that were like, I can't even go out because if I have to wear the mask, I can't breathe, so I'm just staying home. And so that's tragic. And there are people that they could actually be causing conditions. I heard a story, I don't know if it's true, but someone wrecked and died. They had a mask on and they think that they started suffocating in the mask, panicked, and caused a wreck. I don't know. Who knows if that stuff's true? But it goes to speak to the absurdity of trusting the experts, which is something you're going to hear me talk about a lot more in the future. Because this applies not just to the virologists, but to also the climate change scientists, but then also the experts in other fields we have to trust the experts in the intelligence agency. We have to trust the experts in media. We have to trust the experts in academia. Well, they're all dominated by the globalists, 95% of them. And so they're not really unpartisan experts. They're pushing an agenda. Science isn't what we thought it was in the 40s and 50s, where you just had people trying to analyze data. There's still people out there like that. But much of it now, much of these experts in the scientific field and the intelligence field, they have a preordained conclusion, and then they force the evidence to fit that. So back on the IFR, the infected fatality rate, I had been arguing with someone who told me that the number of people tested, it was 5%. 5% of people that get COVID die from it. That's absurd. I knew it was. I said the more random people we test, that number will go down. Well, the problem is we didn't start testing that many random people. And just to work this through real quick, why it would make sense. If you have symptoms, if you're coughing real bad, you have the symptoms of COVID that are so bad that you need to go to the hospital, the chances of you then dying from COVID are going to be way higher than the person who had COVID and didn't even know it. If you didn't even show the symptoms, chances are you're not going to die from it. Well, we know that the number of people that have antibodies that had COVID that it either exhibited that were asymptomatic and didn't have any symptoms or had very mild symptoms is a lot of people. That's why the lockdown was stupid. The virus had already spread. But the good news about that is the same amount of people have still died, which means the fatality rate is way lower. Now the CDC says that the actual fatality rate, their best estimate is 0.25. That puts it in line with the 1958 flu. Read your history books. You remember that? That was a crazy time. The 58 flu, they shut down sporting venues. They locked down the economy. Everyone had to wear masks. No one could go to... Oh, what's that? Oh, no, none of that happened. That's right. Yeah, HIPAA is crazy, Paul. So, yeah, I mean, even at that, and I still have people arguing with me, well, if you look at the actual data, the fatality rate's still showing around 3%. Again, that's because we're not randomly testing. And look, they try to confuse you all the time. This constantly happens. You look at the Obamagate stuff. The reason they're able to get away with it is, one, they control the narrative. And second, it's so convoluted and so corrupt. And there's so much to the story that it's hard to wrap your head around. It's the same with the 2008 financial crisis. There was all kinds of things about packaging, AAA mortgages with mortgages that they knew there would be defaults on and blah, 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 blah. They were criminals. That's what it was. They stole your money. They did it in a convoluted way so that you, the average person that doesn't have time to sit down and look through reams of documents, would be like, this is so confusing, I just don't want to think about it. That's what's going on with this data with COVID. Oh, well, the Imperial College studied the way it modeled, blah, 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 blah. Here's all you need to know. They said it would basically be the apocalypse if we didn't lock down. Places like Japan, Sweden, Georgia, Florida that either didn't lock down or locked down way less than other places didn't experience apocalypse. Now, they could say, but technically, and I had someone say this to me, Neil Ferguson, who wrote the Imperial College model, that said 2.2 million Americans would die. Then he walked about, but if you listen to me, it could be as little as 60,000. That's what he said, right? He's been wrong over and over in his career. At one point, he predicted the avian bird flu would kill 15 million people. 15 million in the UK. Yeah, how many died over the period of 2003 to 2008? 177. He predicted 15 million, and 177 died. Not 177,000, 177 people. And when I bring that up to people, I had two people who I would consider normally intelligent people, one of them a Trump supporter who was for this lockdown, tell me, yeah, but that fell within the guides of his model. His model said anywhere from 100 to 15 million could die, and so his model was correct. That's the expert we put our trust into? I can make similar predictions. I predict next year the flu will kill between 1 and 6 billion people. Hey, I'm going to be right. Where's my government check? Is the government going to listen to me now on policy? It's just so dumb. And these people, they act so arrogant and smug. Well, we have to trust the experts. The experts know what they're talking about. Who are you, just a layman? You can't understand. Your small brain can't understand what they're saying. I can understand when the expert Fauci told me in January, don't worry about COVID, it's not a big deal. Now he says it's such a big deal that life may never be the same. But then he changes after poo-pooing it for weeks or for months and says, oh, but we can't stay locked down forever. I know that him and the World Health Organization told us masks do nothing. Then they told us we have to wear masks. So sorry if I'm not just blindly trusting the experts. By the way, some of the people that are now doing studies showing how overblown this was, Oxford, Stanford, but we can't trust those experts, right? Just when they say trust the experts, what they mean is trust the people that we trust. If you have experts, we'll just say they're not experts. They're Chinese shills. Sounds very familiar, right? Believe all women. Unless a woman accuses someone we like, then don't believe them. Believe all scientists. Unless that scientist has data we don't like, then disregard it. Have I watched The Truth Hurts on Alex Jones? I've not. I don't even know what The Truth Hurts is to be honest. Lewis says, unfortunately, we have to recall 50% of the country are insane liberals. Yeah. But again, I get a lot of heat for this. One of the things I try to do on my channel is also put the blame on Republicans. And here's why. I know the liberals are insane. The Democratic Party are globalist establishment shills. Is there possibly a state-level Democrat that's a decent person? Yeah. Is my neighbor down the road who's a Democrat a decent person? Yes. Do I have friends that are Democrats that are decent people? Yes. My channel is not focused on talking about those. When I'm talking about the corruption of the Democratic Party, I mean the people that are controlling the party. Pelosi, Schumer, Obama, that crew, AOC, Bernie. I get a lot of heat from my Democrat friends who are like, I'd like to come on the show and disagree with you, but you say all Democrats are horrible. It's like, well, I don't mean the average person, right? By the way, I'm serious about that. I'm very much serious. When I was running for office and when I was volunteering to help Republicans win, one of the things I told them all the time is stop insulting voters, right? The idea is to get those Democratic voters to vote for you. So if you're like, oh, all AOC supporters are a bunch of stupid millennials that don't know anything, they're probably not going to vote for you. But you're right. There's a lot of people, liberals out there that are, I would say, to be as generous as insane many could be, to be as generous as possible, I'd say ignorant. But yeah, there's a lot that no matter what you say, their hatred of Trump or their belief that the Republican Party is racist or their belief that there's a patriarchy or any of this crap, you can't talk facts to them. So the best we could do is reach that middle group. And then hopefully some of those people, I say this all the time, there's basically 5 types of people listening to you when you talk or when you say something. My eyes are really red. It must just be the camera filter. I don't feel sick or anything. Sorry. Hope I'm not creeping anyone out. right? There's 5 types of people listening to you, though. There's people that really agree with you and really disagree with you. And those people probably aren't going to change their mind that often. Then there's people that sort of agree with you or people that sort of disagree with you. And then there's people that are either ignorant in that they don't know what you're talking about or they're indifferent in the middle. Those middle 3 groups are the groups that you're most of the time talking to. Even if you're having a debate with a person who you know you can't change their mind, there's going to be an audience at some point that will hear what's going on. And so you should carry yourself under that assumption. So that's one of the things I try to do. It is water. I mean, what? Straight vodka, yeah. Ugh. No, I don't smoke either. Asthmatic. No. Oh, I know who said that you're not insulting fellow citizens. I know. And I don't mind we're sitting here, Lewis. I don't mind that at all. Lag in here? Jeez. No, I get exactly what you're saying. There's people that follow the mainstream media and you can't... I talked to a person I had on my channel. I did several conversations. I wouldn't call them debates, but they're a left-leaning person. Had him on my channel a lot. Met him on Twitter arguing with him. This person thinks that I'm erroneous in saying that we have proved corruption in the FBI in the FISA scandal. That hasn't been proven. And I said... It is beyond dispute that there was an FBI lawyer, for example, that changed an email from the CIA saying, yes, Carter Page was an asset for the CIA. And he changed that to say, no, he wasn't an agent. So the FBI investigators literally changed evidence to say the opposite of what it meant in order to spy on someone. That's the equivalent of a cop planting drugs in your backseat. That's corrupt. And this person said that's not corrupt. And you know how they know it's not corrupt? Because CNN hasn't said so. And the New York Times hasn't said so. Even the Washington Examiner article that I showed him showing that the IG said that didn't say it was corrupt. They said it was being investigated criminally, but they didn't use the word corrupt. Therefore, I can't use the word corrupt. Now, this is a smart person. But when you're so indoctrinated with this idea of trust the experts, trust the media, that you say, I can't say that the FBI planting evidence is corrupt unless the media tells me to. What more is there to say? Let's see what we got. Yeah, so Vincere, you're right. We need more investigations of what was going on upstream. Let me make this as broad as possible. It is my firm belief that the more we investigate what was going on with Obama's intelligence agencies, that we'll find out that he was spying on more than just Trump and people connected to Trump. I think we'll find out this was going on even before Trump ran for office. I think we'll find out that people that he thought were legitimate threats in the conservative movement or even independent were being spied upon. I wouldn't be surprised to see if some of the Tea Party people were spied upon, some of the Freedom Caucus, your Mark Meadows, your Jim Jordan type people, Devin Nunes were spied on, Rand Paul, people like that. I think that Obama spawned a culture that said, it's okay, we are morally superior and intellectually superior to everyone, so it's okay if we break the rules. That's what I think happened. And I think they said, do the spying, and then we'll cover our butts later if we have to. They expected Hillary Clinton to win, and that was their big mistake. That's why I'm so frustrated that none of these people have been locked up right now, because this time in history is the best chance we have to actually lock these corrupt people up, because normally it goes from a Bush to a Clinton to Obama. You think any of those administrations are going to look for criminality in the previous ones? Of course not. But they were so confident that they were going to win. It was either going to be Jeb Bush or Marco Rubio versus Hillary Clinton, so they win either way. And then once it was Trump, they're like, Hillary's going to blow him out of the water. That they did these corrupt things, and then it was an oh shit moment, as is said in the book Shattered, where in the election night, right, the author of this book was in the room, and he says that they were all like, we need to come up with something. Immediately they came up with the idea, Russia, we'll smear them with Russia. They called their media pals, they got on it like that. Started investigation, the spying and stuff was already going on. And I said this, I've been saying this for years. I wrote in Above Top Secret in a blog on October 24th, 2017, that if unverified opposition research was used to spy on a political opponent, it was the biggest scandal in the history of this country. Not only was I right then, But now we've learned so much more, proving that the scandal's even worse than I thought it initially was. But one of the things I said even way back then, I said, here's what's going to happen. The FBI under Comey will be desperate to get anyone that they can hang a criminal charge on. Because once it comes out that the start of the investigation was garbage, they'll say, well, okay, maybe the start wasn't completely on the up and up, but look at these actual criminals we got. So it was all worth it. And then their allies in the media and academia will run with it, and that'll be the defense. And that's exactly what happened. So what happened was they were spying on people for political reasons, and then once they lost, they said, we have to make it criminal. One, and it does two things. One, it covers our tracks for why were we spying on them, and second, it allows us to derail the administration. Yeah, you're right. Who said that on D-Live? Love the sax. I did love the saxophone. When I was in when I was in fourth grade, they did these music tests, and I to determine what tones you liked, and I was either saxophone or French horn, and I elected to play French horn because I had a crush on a girl that played French horn. So I am an amateur French hornist. How about that? Oh, thank you, Brady. Yes, Sarah's one of the best people online. Sarah Courier. If you guys haven't checked out her channel, I do a show with her on Thursday nights. We've had some scheduling conflicts recently, but yeah, she's one of the best people online. I recommend checking out her channel. Lewis says, if you flip the IRS in the 2012 elections, took the Tea Party out, denying Romney a victory. I mean, yeah, Obama's terrible. I don't know that Romney would have been much better, but that's hardly the point, right? Yeah, there are all sorts of shenanigans that went into that. That's absolutely right. I mean, just look at it this way. We as conservatives or Republicans, don't even use the term Republican. Just say this. People that aren't the establishment Democratic Party have been saying for years about the extreme bias of the media. And I know that it's trendy to say, oh, the media is dying and they don't have influence. They do. COVID proves that. Look at how many people still believe the garbage the media is putting out. Now they're dying. That's why they're tightening their grip to censor people like me or the other people that you watch, even on the left, independent content creators. They have 95% control over the narrative. They need 100% control. Their ideas are so bad that the only way they could sell them to the American people is by making sure the opposition doesn't have free speech. I welcome anyone to disagree with me or challenge me. Why? Because I have confidence that my ideas are good. Only someone who has no confidence that their ideas can stand up to any sort of criticism demands that people that criticize them be censored. That's why they're censoring all the COVID stuff, because they know that the data proves that they're wrong. But yeah, so not just the IRS, but I mean, that's certainly part of the truth. But if we had anywhere near, instead of having a 95% biased establishment Democratic media, if we had like a 70%, think of where we would be. The lack of power that the establishment Democratic Party would have. Vincher says, the upstream queries of the FISA database aren't allowed to happen because they're supposed to be queried for foreigners and the unmasked persons incidental. Yeah, and that's absolutely right. Right? So you have protections under the Bill of Rights that the government can't just spy on you willy-nilly. They have to go to this FISA court. And in order to spy on you through a FISA court, they basically have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that you're a foreign asset. So you're like a spy or you're a terrorist or something like that. What you're not supposed to do, but you can spy. Our intelligence agencies are allowed to spy on foreigners. They're not protected by our Constitution. So what they do is they say, oh, Rob's likely to be talking to these foreigners, so we'll spy on these foreigners and then get Rob's calls, and then if we hear anything that we think's anywhere shady, we'll then go back and retrace and get the FISA warrant later. In other words, show me the person, I'll give you the crime. That's what they're doing. Love the sex. Okay, that's a great point. Put the videos on D-Live. I believe I need 300 followers on D-Live before I could put non-live videos there. So if everyone on YouTube, even if you'll never use D-Live, if you could, right now my name on D-Live is just Rob Noor. I'm going to try, I've sent an email to try to change the name of that D-Live channel to Normal America with Rob Noor, the exact same as the YouTube channel. But right now it's just Rob Noor, my name. If you look that up on D-Live and could subscribe, then yeah, that would help me branch out. That's something that you could really do. But I am trying to move to DLive because I feel, even though I'm having a just slight problem sometimes with the interface of it, at least they're not censoring me. So, yeah, right, Lewis. They stole 3 years off Trump. And look, I give some of that blame to Trump, or at least the people he surrounded himself with, Barr and Sessions. Right? I've said this a lot, and this is one of the disagreements I have with some of the people on... there's Carlos, who does the radio show with me. Here's one of the disagreements I have with a lot of the Q people is, look, this idea of, we just need 4 years to get the plan moving. We have to, I disagree with that. I think if we would have charged people like Comey, Brennan, Clapper with crimes when we saw them, when it became proven in the public sphere that they committed these crimes, that would have helped win the 2018 election. Then we wouldn't have seen the impeachment hoax. And Trump would have actually been able to do things like build the wall better, be more freedom-oriented in the response to COVID, less pork projects in the spending bills related to COVID that we've now wasted trillions of dollars, etc. So I do think that it wasted a lot of his... Can we tweet me out, Twitter? You can tweet me on Twitter anytime you want. And Carlos, you could also tweet if that's who you're talking about. Yeah, 17 people listening on Forward Nation. It says 19 now, though, if you're including all the platforms. By the way, if you're on Facebook listening, I can't read your comments live. So if you go over to my YouTube channel or DLive channel, you can actually give me comments live. But yeah, Carlos is awesome. He does the radio show with me. I was telling him, Carlos, I bungled up the production value of the radio show last weekend. But I assure you it will be better from this point forward. So if you like what we have to say, but didn't like the meathead that was producing it, you'll be all right. Yeah, I am running for Congress in 2022. Having said that, I have no idea what my district will be because after the census, Pennsylvania is going to lose a seat, and so we will be redistricted unless they put it off because of COVID. So I don't know what district. I currently reside in District 15, and I ran in District 12 in 2019, but I don't know what district that'll be. Yeah, Carlos's Twitter is @HockeyNuts. You'll have to ask him why. He played hockey, that's why. Yeah, so other subjects people wanted to hit on. Thank you for your support, though. Love the sex. I really appreciate it. If people are wondering how to support me, there's usually a link in the description. You can find me on Patreon. You can give me lemons on DLive. You could super chat me on YouTube. If you don't want to support me financially, I don't blame you. I wouldn't either. The best thing I think that people could do is just follow me on all the platforms, and then the short form videos I put out, which, by the way, were Carlos's idea. Because if it was me, anytime I do a video, it's a 2-hour rant. Carlos is like, why don't you try putting out some shorter stuff? So I'm trying to put out like a 2-minute video almost every day. If you could share that with people, maybe that would help grow the channel. So, oh yeah, I have PayPal as well. I forget. So thank you. Yeah, and Carlos is definitely worth following. It's the way me and Carlos met was through me running for Congress in District 12 in the special election. So one of the things I think I have a good, I think my policies are good. I have a good constitutional liberty-minded policy goals. I leave that influence everything I think about policy. I think that I'm a good speaker. I think that I have exactly what the Republicans need in the sense they need people that go on offense instead of constantly being on defense. Oh, we're not a racist. Oh, we don't hate poor people. Oh, we don't hate women. Garbage. Time to stop that. That's why I love the new press secretary. How do you pronounce her last name? Kaylee, I can never pronounce her last name. But she's fantastic. And notice how upset everyone gets. How dare she attack the media? Yes, that's exactly what she should be doing. But anyways, what I didn't have is connections to anyone or kind of an understanding of the behind-the-scenes world of politics. And that's exactly what Carlos has. He's had years of experience helping people run campaigns and things like that. So that's why we kind of started teaming up just as friends, not even running for office or anything, and just sharing thoughts politically, which led to our radio show. So, do we really need rule of law? Yeah, I think so. And I know this is a question that we kind of talked about in the radio show, Carlos. So the idea is this. Bill Barr has this statement where he talks about, I'm just going to paraphrase here, but it's, look, You shouldn't want Bill Barr to go out there and say, get the Democrats for the sake of getting the Democrats. You should want Bill Barr to get the Democrats if the Democrats committed crimes. And I agree with that. I don't want, all I've said from the get-go was, I just want equal application of the law. That's it. So if we're going to determine all of the sudden that failing to register as a foreign lobbyist is now a crime we're going to prosecute, I have no problem with that. I think that we have way too much foreign influence in the United States. Fair enough. Prosecute those people. So they prosecute Paul Manafort. That's fine. But he committed the crime with Mercury LLC and the Podesta Group. Those groups didn't get prosecuted. Neither did the thousands of other lawyers and lobbyists in Washington that are constantly lobbying on behalf of Israel or on behalf of Great Britain, the UK, or on the behalf of China, or on the behalf of Russia. They're all allowed to get away. It's just people connected to Trump are committed. That get convicted of the crime. Or if lying to Congress is a crime, that's fine. Then throw the key. Then lock up Michael Cohen. But what about Brennan, McCabe, Comey, Clapper? So I do think the rule of law is important. I think that we need to equally apply the law. The problem is what we see with the feckless people that are Republicans when they're involved in it. The Trey Gowdies of the world, the Jeff Sessions, the Bill Barrs. I know the jury's still out on exactly what Barr is going to do. But thus far, it's been this. They err on the side of, oh my goodness, we'll never charge the Democrats with anything or the intel community with anything ever because it would be seen politically. But we will go after Republicans, or we're okay with the other side going after Republicans. And you can see this in the media as well with so-called conservatives. I won't say so-called, but with conservatives that, such as Ben Shapiro, right? Let me just give you a little example. Ben Shapiro, smart guy, great talker. I like a lot of his points. I agree on a lot of what he says. But he's also very biased, and he's also very establishment in many ways. So, for example, when Roseanne came out and said that she thought Valerie Jarrett looked like someone from Planet of the Apes, Roseanne's excuse was, I legitimately didn't know she was black. I was saying her facial features looked like this character. Now, you can take, I personally don't care if a Republican or Democrat says a joke and it's offensive. I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. And I truly mean that. I didn't care when Samantha Bee was, calling Ivanka Trump the C word. Didn't care. I was like, whatever. If I don't like it, I'll change the channel. So I'm not just defending Roseanne because she seems to be conservative. But Ben Shapiro was like, oh yeah, she should be out. She should never have a job again. But then anytime someone like Samantha Bee or, anyone else, what's her name? The woman, the black woman on MSNBC that claimed that she didn't write all those homophobic things, that the FBI was looking into it. I can't think of her name right now, but you know who I'm talking about. Shapiro defends them. That's exactly what we see out of the Trey Gowdies of the world, the Jeff Sessions of the world, the Barrs of the world. I mean, I said this at the time. Remember, Roger Stone, the corrupt judge, tried to give Roger Stone 7 years for lying to investigators. Bill Barr came in like Superman and was like, not 7 years, 2 years. And Republicans went nuts. They were like, yeah, we did it. Finally, justice. At the exact same time that was going on, we knew dead to rights that Andy McCabe lied to Congress. What was Bill Barr's recommendation for Andy McCabe lying to Congress? 0 years. So Bill Barr seems reasonable. Hey, he took Stone's sentence from 7 to 2 years. What a great guy. What a stand-up Republican. Standing up for the rule of law. Oh, but the same crime committed by a member of the FBI, we have dead to rights? Now he recommends 0 years. That's what I'm talking about. It's the unequal application of law. Why do we... Let me grab another drink. I should have grabbed 2 the first time. We have an unequal application of law for a couple of reasons. The reason it started is this. Because while the right was concerned with winning elections, the left was concerned... What? Why did I lose everyone? One second here. I lost the chat for everyone. Restream, what are you doing to me? Sorry, I'm just trying to fix the chat here. Oh, what's going on? Give me 1 second. But while the right was concerned with winning elections, the left's concerned with winning the war. So they're infiltrating the entertainment industry. They're infiltrating academia. All this other stuff. And the right was content with just, oh, we're plugging away trying to win elections, etc. What's going on here? What is chat? Give me just a second. I apologize. What's going on? Yeah, right? Okay. Well, I just have to come to YouTube to see you all. So I'll only be able to see, I guess, YouTube chat now. Sorry about that. I don't know what's going on with my restream. So give me 1 second. I'll get on that. I'm terrible at multitasking, Mom. Anyway, so to answer your question, Carlos, that's what's going on. So, and the other thing is the left thinks they're morally superior. So they don't care if they're breaking the law or breaking what we would consider doing things in an immoral fashion. I just have to come to being YouTube corrupt. To see you all. So I'll only be able to see, I guess, holy YouTube cow. Chat now. No. There we go. Okay. So I can see you all on YouTube now chatting, so sorry about that. So yeah, that's what happened. They don't mind breaking the law. They don't mind being corrupt. So they're infiltrating. They have activist judges, for example, that they've put all these judges in that refuse to actually do their job and interpret the Constitution. Instead, they just do whatever they feel. We see that constantly. We see, for example, with the idea that Trump wasn't allowed to have an ban on people from certain countries. That's quite clearly outlined in the Constitution, the purview of the executive branch. Yet, we had activist judges who said, nah, we're just going to say no. And so that's been going on for decades. Right? And this culture, so when conservatives are there, when you have even corrupt people I didn't like so much, like George Bush or your Mitt Romneys or whatever, when they're there, they're just going along to get along, being the establishment. That's fine. Then when someone like Obama's there, they're weaponizing that. And it creates a culture that as the people come up through academia, well, that's all dominated by these people. And then everything you see on television, that's dominated. The narrative's controlled of the mainstream media, through the entertainment industry, through Silicon Valley. And so you've set up this culture where these people that get into these positions of law enforcement at the high levels, like the intelligence agencies, the judges, the lawyers, etc., they're all indoctrinated to think, we don't have to follow the rules. We're morally and intellectually superior to everyone else, so we'll do whatever we want. Right? That's how they do things. Again, sorry if you're on DLive, I won't be able to see your chats, but I will go and give the lemons out at the end there on DLive. And so what you see is decades of this going on unencumbered. If you have good-minded conservative people in there, they just say, hey, we'll do things by the book. But they never want to go after the corruption. We don't want to go after the corruption. We don't want it to have the appearance of being political. And so this is what's happened. We've got a culture now where the CIA, the intel officials, the FBI, they think they're above the law. Chuck Schumer admitted on national television that the most powerful elected leader of the free world, the President of the United States, must be fearful to criticize the intel agencies. That's how it happened. How does it continue to happen? Because they control the narrative, which is a two-parter. One, we don't have a free press anymore. They spent years indoctrinating academia, the entertainment industry, Silicon Valley. But it's also because the Republicans are incompetent. They don't know how to fight back. And all of that leads to an incredibly unjust system where the exact same people investigate Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. With Hillary Clinton, they give everyone immunity. They smash their devices so that no one can see the evidence. They allow them to destroy subpoenaed evidence. Then with Trump, they do the exact opposite. They go through lawyers' houses at the middle of the night. They call CNN while they pull Roger Stone out in his underwear while 17 FBI agents hold AR-15s in his face. They throw people in solitary confinement for crimes that are nothing. That's how it happens. Freebird wants to know, is Governor Wolf going to be investigated for his role in allowing COVID-19 patients? No, he won't. And I know that. Carlos, I apologize for this. You were unable to hear our interview with our second guest last week, who's someone who kind of has some insight into what the Republicans are going to do. He thinks the impeachments of Wolf is a bad idea, which it probably is. But my impression of him is the Republican strategy is going to be to try to pass an amendment to the PA Constitution that limits the executive power of the governor in emergency situations. I doubt that you'll see any push from Republican Congress people in the state of Pennsylvania. You'll have one or two, but you'll not see any real push to actually criminally or civilly investigate Wolf for his policies directly leading to the deaths of these people in nursing homes. That's my honest opinion. He'll get away with it unless something changes, unless we elect some people with a backbone. I'm lagging now? Oh my goodness. I shouldn't be. I don't know what's going on. This restream. Let me know if it starts lagging more and I'll try to restart it if so. But, yeah, Pushback's the name of me and Carlos's show. That's what we're going to call a radio show because you actually have to push back against this aggression. Remember that scene in The Big Lebowski? This aggression will not stand. So, yeah, we're trying to push back. So, the moves that Trump admits made over the past 3 years have been maddening to watch, but I'm convinced that it had to go down the way it did reveal the deep state stirred for all to see. It's certainly been maddening to watch. I agree with that part. Did it have to go down the way it has? I don't think so. I think that if we would have declassified this way back in 2018 when he knew of the coup, if he would have declassified and had those people charged with crimes then, I think that would have been enough to wake the people up. I think that here's the danger of the way that it's shaken down. Let's say that Trump and Q or whoever, Sessions or Barr, they had this elaborate plan that we're going to slow play this for 3 years. Well, did they anticipate COVID? Because here's the problem. As terrible and corrupt, and anyone who's watched my channel knows this, I've said it's the biggest story in the country, the corruption, since I've started my channel. So I certainly take the story seriously. Here's the problem. How do I convince my neighbor that lost his job, is afraid about losing his house over COVID? How do I convince him that this Carter Page FISA-gate story is important or the Mike Flynn story is important? I try to show him that, look, the same corruption that caused you to lose your job over COVID is the exact same type of crap that's going on with Mike Flynn. He don't want to hear it. Mike who? What about my job? And so now what would have been the biggest story in the country takes a back burner to an insane story. The fact that we just crumpled up the Bill of Rights and thrown it out the window. And sadly, Trump gave lip service to it. As much as people want to say it's just the Democratic governors, that's not true. The federal government has shut down a lot of things. Trump could have been doing a better job actively pursuing to make sure that we kept our Bill of Rights protections. Instead, he was criticizing the Georgia governor for reopening. He was criticizing Sweden for never locking down. He was praising Gavin Newsom and Cuomo for their lockdowns. So, I know people don't want to hear that. And my vocalizations against Trump on that wasn't that I became a Democrat all of a sudden. I'm still going to vote for Trump. It was, you're playing right into their hands. Now you've collapsed the economy. That was the biggest thing Trump had going for him. So now he'll have that fight going into the election. As I predicted before, I didn't say COVID would cause it, but I said 6 months ago, don't get too confident that Trump will win. The establishment will pull out all the stops, including bringing out people saying Trump raped me, and they're going to intentionally collapse the economy. That's what happened. So, I mean, if the slow play wouldn't have happened and had all the Obamagate stuff came out before 2018 when it should have, maybe then the Republicans don't lose in 2018. Maybe then people are fed up with the corruption. Maybe then the response to COVID doesn't have people like Pelosi and Schumer leading the way. So, I don't know. I hope it causes the demise of the deep state. We'll see. Yeah, PA legislator is swamped with career politicians and rhinos. That's absolutely true. Absolutely. You know, and it's one of the things I considered running for state government, but here's why I didn't. I don't know the state issues as well as I do the national issues. I just don't. And I'm not the type of person that's going to run because I think I'm entitled to a job. If I don't think I could do better than the person who's in office, then I won't run. Though, sadly, I don't think it would be harder to do better than a lot of these people. Yeah, I mean, and that's a question, Carlos. When you see these people that, you know, particularly the frustrating part for me are people that claim to be conservatives and claim to care about the Constitution, that all of a sudden, due to COVID, were like, please take away my rights. It does make you wonder, what were the founding fathers too good for us? Sometimes I wonder that, you know? Did they outline a document that was meant for better people than us? Maybe. You know, I'll still keep fighting for it, obviously. And that's just the pessimist in me talking. Clearly, I think that we deserve that Constitution. But yeah, I mean, it's a serious issue. If you're, Ben Franklin said it, if you're willing to sacrifice safety for liberty, you deserve neither. And certainly, a large portion of people in this country are more than willing to bow down to anything the government says in the taking away of their rights, if it means a perceived safety. So, let's see. What else is people saying? And yeah, it is both sides. And look, and here's something I try to do on my show. I will never vote for a Democrat until they change their leadership. However, I understand the importance of at least two parties, maybe more. You don't want a monolithic government. It's not going to be good. It will become corrupt if there's no pushback. That's just the way it is, right? But for me, it was the Kavanaugh and the Covington situation. When I saw the leaders of the Democratic Party endorse adult black racists attacking children based solely on their skin color and perceived political preferences, even after they knew those children were getting death threats, they continued with that narrative. And when I saw them say the idea of innocent until proven guilty, the foundational principle in our legal system was to be reversed, and it was now guilty until proven innocent with the Kavanaugh situation, I said, I don't know how anyone in good conscience could ever run Democrat again. And I will never vote for a Democrat again in my lifetime until serious changes are made at the top of the leadership. If you're a Democrat that is of the old Democratic Party's values, which I still wasn't a regular voter of, but it's just like, hey, I think we need a party for the working class people, and I'm pro-union. I'm not necessarily those things, but I understand the importance of that type of party. If you're in that type of Democratic Party, and that's the Democrat you are, you should be cheering for the Democrats to get obliterated in the 2020 election. You should hope they get wiped out, so that then maybe someone sane could take over the reins of leadership of the Democratic Party. Or a new party could be founded that's based on those principles of helping the working person. But what exists right now is, it's insane. They are globalist. They are hell-bent on the destruction of the United States. They know that the working class of the United States is the biggest impediment to globalism. They want a sort of neo-feudalism where everyone relies on them, our great saviors, for sustenance. They don't want you to have a job where you could live on your own. They want you reliant on the government, and they want to be the only ones in charge of the government. They want to live on hills, on the shining cities and castles on the top of the hill. Well, you live in squalor like in San Francisco, and they throw you bread when they feel like it. And if you stop worshiping them, then they'll cut you off. That's what the Democratic Party wants. That's what the globalists want. But does that mean that everyone, all my friends that are Democrat are like that? No. Not at all. Maybe they don't see exactly what the leadership of the party's about now. I'm telling you, though, we'll get far more people on the side of liberty if we understand. You could be on the side of liberty and have some different values. You could be on the side of ending this corruption and have different values. And people are more likely to join us if we're opening to accepting them than if we're just like, oh, yeah, you don't vote for my guy, so screw you, so... Yeah, 223 says people looking for a man to save them instead of looking to Jesus. Yeah, agreed. I mean, I don't talk about my religion often because I do think that, you could, to me, religion is this, being Christ-like. That's it. I don't get more dogmatic than that. I feel like that's the character that, like, he is the person to model. If you could live your life as close to him as possible, which no one will ever live up to those standards, but then that's to me what religion's about. If you're Christ-like and you get there through a different way, that's fine by me. Whatever. I'm not judging people their personal religion. But I will say on that note, what I will talk about is, I do think that oftentimes too many people are putting faith in, whether it be Donald Trump or whether it be Q or some other politician. Look, I agree with politicians when they agree with my principles. If you're an honest, free-thinking person, you'll never find someone that agrees with you 100% of the time. And thereby, you'll never find a political party that agrees with you 100% of the time. So, when Trump's doing what I like, I support him. When Trump does things I don't like the deficit spending or bombing Syria, I speak out against it. But I think we lose sight of, one of the things that we lose sight of is, you have more control over your life than anyone else. Now, again, the globalists want to change that, but that's still the truth. And so, we have to ask ourselves, what can we do to make the situation better as individuals? Does that mean run for office? Does that mean start a channel? Does that mean serve in the military? Does that mean volunteer at the soup kitchen? It could come in any way. Like, there's a zillion things that it could be. And as long as you stay true to yourself and you're really trying to be a good person, you're trying to advance the interests of yourself and your family and the country, that's great. Whether you do it through comedy, you're doing it through whatever your job is, that's fantastic. But I think that you can start to see some of the problems of putting too much faith in one person or one ideology, right? Like, by ideology, I mean like Q or something like that. What if it's wrong? What if they slip up? What if they make a mistake? I mean, Trump's human. He's going to make mistakes. And I think that that's one of the things we saw potentially with Trump, with putting too much faith in him. And again, this is someone, I've supported Trump as well as anyone as I know. So many Trump supporters, when Trump initially came out with Dr. Fauci and was like, yeah, we need to lock down, were like, yes, we need to lock down. And that was a huge mistake because Trump, I truly believe Trump, he's in a difficult spot. He's someone who isn't an expert in a lot of fields, such as epidemiology. But what he is an expert in is being a businessman and listening to other people that are experts and being intuitive and coming to a good solution based on listening to a host of experts that are disagreeing. One of the problems is the deep state is so insidious and so ingrained and entrenched that it's hard for Trump to put people around him that aren't part of that. So when he gets Dr. Fauci and all these doctors around him that are like, yes, close down the economy, shut down for good. He's like, oh, okay, I guess that's what I got to do. If we, the actual defenders of liberty, would have spoke up more, which a lot of us did, but if we would have spoke up in unison earlier, no, you can't do this. The lockdown's a huge mistake. Trump would have listened, just like he did with Second Amendment issues. Trump wasn't an ideologue on Second Amendment, but once he saw that his supporters were vehemently pro-Second Amendment, he started to become more of that. So I think that people made a huge mistake because they allowed their faith in Trump to disregard their own principles. They knew deep down that the principles of liberty and defending the Bill of Rights was important. They knew that the media were a bunch of liars. They knew that the Democrats wanted to collapse the economy, but they still went along with it because they thought Trump was. So if you support Trump because he is defending your principles, then you were able, like I did, you were able to say, no, I think this is a mistake. I think the lockdown's a mistake. But if you support Trump the man, and no matter what he does, you'll be behind it, then you allowed yourself to say, I support the lockdown. Yeah, Odessa, I totally agree. Pennsylvania people need to wake up. Governor Wolf is atrocious. And hopefully we see some good people run. I believe it's Wolf's last term, so hopefully we see a competent Republican who's... It's not enough to just be a Republican. It has to be an actual leader, which is few and far between. So hopefully we see them. Modus at the beer store. Be right back. Good choice. I would leave listening to me to go to the beer store. Right, Lewis, I agree. That's what they did. They locked Trump in the Oval Office and said 2.2 million people will die if you don't support the lockdown, so he did. But they were wrong, and Trump was wrong to support him, and Trump went along with it way longer than he should have. I mean, it was just 2 weeks ago he was criticizing Sweden. 3 weeks ago he criticized Georgia's governor. So he is now, I mean, he did take the great step of saying, you can't shut down churches. We'll see what he does to the mayor of Chicago, who disregarded him and shut down a church this weekend. Took hundreds of years to erode our rights. Every branch of government's been compromised. We need to restore true constitutional checks and balances. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Term limits would be a good first step to that. Again, regardless if I would ever win a seat in Congress, regardless if a law would be passed for term limits, I would never keep more than 3 terms in the House of Representatives and 2 in the Senate. That's 12 years in the Senate, 6 years in the House, 18 years. That's more than enough. But that would be a good thing, a good way to start. Yeah, I mean, the Trump that you love, Carlos, is the Trump that's shooting from the hip when he was running for office. When he's saying, like, for me, I voted for Trump. I've said it a million times in the show, but I voted for Trump because I knew that the establishment thought Trump was a potential outsider and that they would out their corruption if someone who wasn't in the inside, in the club, was elected to office. And that's exactly what's happened. We see evidence of the corruption. It is no longer debatable that the mainstream media is just propagandists. They're not journalists. We see the corruption of the FBI, of the CIA. You see it in the 1,200 national security experts that signed a form saying that they're upset that Barr dropped charges against Michael Flynn when it's obvious that Flynn was railroaded. You see it in academia. You see it in Hollywood, how insane these people became. Trump did all of that just by being himself. But policy-wise, the things I liked about Trump was this. So if you remember, he has the first debate with Hillary, and then I think after that, the next debate was Mike Pence versus Tim Kaine, the vice presidential debate. And Pence came out and was like, because they were kind of hammering Pence on the idea of, was Trump too friendly with Russia? Was Trump too friendly with Assad? And Pence comes out and is like, oh no, Assad's our enemy and Russia's our enemy and blah, blah, blah. And then Trump comes out in the next debate. It was the second debate with Hillary, and he's just like, yeah, why exactly are we feuding with Assad in Russia? Like, aren't the people that are fighting Assad Islamic terrorists? Shouldn't we be working with them to take out, like, Al-Qaeda and ISIS? Yes! Yes, absolutely! You got it, Trump. That's exactly it. And you knew it was a great comment because you turned on Fox News and MSNBC, and that's the only time they agreed. Oh, Trump's lost his mind! That's how you knew it was a good thing. Just like the only time I saw MSNBC praise Trump was when he bombed Syria. Isn't that the party of peace, the Democrats, right? Their propagandist outlets, CNN, MSNBC, the only time they can say a good word about Trump's when he's dropping bombs. Trump gets it. He got it. And Trump's gut feeling is right 95% of the time, I feel. And when he makes his worst decisions, it's because he's listening to other people talk him out of it. Like, how many times did they say, oh, Trump, you need to stop being so brash. You need to stop tweeting directly to the American people. Now, I'll admit, there are things Trump tweets that I'm like, okay, this is just worthless. You shouldn't be tweeting about Rosie O'Donnell or whatever. Arnold Schwarzenegger on The Apprentice. Whatever. I don't care about that. But Trump had the right idea, talking directly to the American people, because he knows that the media is going to lie about everything he does. So the best chance he has is to speak directly to the American people. But all the experts on his side told him that was a mistake. So, term limits absolutely have to be adjusted. The media is the biggest pandemic. Agreed. I totally agree. Odessa says, we're not Republican or Democrat, we're Americans. Yes! That's something that I'm trying to get across. And I say this all the time on my channel. What is your issue? If you're a Democrat and you're listening right now, and your issue is climate change, I disagree, I think it's overhyped. But if that's legitimately your issue, I'm sorry to tell you that your issue doesn't matter as long as corrupt people control our government. It doesn't matter if you convince 99% of the country that your issue is the most important and that your solution is the best way to deal with it. If your voice doesn't matter, if all that matters is who's running the FBI, who's running the CIA, who's George Soros backing, or Bill Gates, or Zuckerberg, who's Twitter allowed to talk and who do they censor, who's YouTube censor and who's YouTube allow, as long as that stuff's happening, none of our issues matter. So as left-wingers and right-wingers, we should come together to say we want this corruption ended. And a lot of left-wing people who would be against that corruption have allowed their hatred of Donald Trump to cloud their vision. And so I ask them all the time, like, look, you're okay with how this went down. You're okay with the FISA abuse against Trump. Yep. You're okay with Obama's FBI using unverified information sourced from Kremlin that his own party paid for, the DNC paid for, to spy on his opponent. Yep, I'm okay. And I'm like, okay, what about when Trump does it in 2020? You okay then? Well, no, that would be horrible. Exactly. But so I do try to bring people. I would love, wouldn't it be great to have a system of governments that didn't have corruption where we could actually argue the actual issues? Left versus, I would love that. I'm still going to be right wing, but I would love that. But we're not even to that point. I would rather vote for a left-winger who I actually thought cared about his constituents than a fake right-winger like Mitt Romney. Let's see. Yeah, Twitter is a cesspool. That's certainly true, Carlos. Right, and that's, and I agree with you, Freebird. Now, again, I've said what I said about the Democratic Party, but that's because I'm talking about the leadership. Let me just give you an example. So, in my little town of Clarion, I wish I could remember this guy's name, and I actually would love to interview him on my show. He was a Democrat. He ran. Here was his two big issues, right? The guy was running locally here. Pro-Second Amendment, pro-life. And he's a Democrat. That's because he wanted like more school taxation. At the local level, the issues were so nuanced, you know. So how am I going to look at that person and go, well, just because you're a Democrat, you know? It's like he had reasonable positions. I didn't vote for him, by the way. But you see what I mean? Like, I'm not going to throw him out with the bathwater just because it's like, well, the leadership of your party's so corrupt. Because he could turn it on me, right? He'd say, oh, you're Republican? How's that Mitt Romney looking? Wasn't he the leader of your party in 2012? How's he look? Fair enough. What about John McCain in 2008? Yeah. Right? So, you know, I am trying to bridge that gap. Now, having said that, I have my biases. I am a Republican. I am conservative. And sometimes I get a little too heated when I'm disagreeing with someone. But I assure you, it's just my personality. I don't dislike these people. When I was in debate in college, almost all of my friends I made there were really left-wing. And I'm still great friends with a lot of them today. And they think I'm absolutely idiotic for being a Republican and being conservative. But we learn to put our differences aside. And they do trust that even if they think I'm just dumb for my policies, I think they know I'm a good person and that I mean well. They just think I'm dumb. Climate change, formerly known as the weather. Yeah. Now they're saying, I saw a paper the other day, we could be entering a period of cooling because sunspot activities at record lows. You know. Whether they like Trump or not, it's a choice of democracy or socialism. Yeah, and I mean, here's the thing. Like, because of the indoctrination of academia, young people, I'm 35. I still try to consider myself young despite these gray hairs. They've been taught how awesome socialism is. They have. And it sounds compassionate, right? The idea of saying, hey, everyone should have a house. Everyone should have health care. Everyone should have food to eat. Like, all of that stuff sounds compassionate. But the problem is, when we don't look at the factual side of it and we just look at the feel side of it, then people start to believe that it's a good idea. They don't look at the actual negatives every time we see it in practice. They don't. And so, it's not that some of these, a lot of these people that endorse socialism, it's not that they're immoral people, it's that they haven't thought it through. And then there's a lot, that I'm sad to say are immoral. There's a lot that think that they should have the power, so they endorse socialism because it means more power for the government, and they want to be the ones that control that power. There's a lot of those people. So it's hard to separate it. I try, to the best of my ability, when it comes to the average person, to give the benefit of the doubt until it's proven to be otherwise. But certainly the leadership of the Democratic Party has lost that benefit. What's up, Rational? Thanks for being here. Yeah, and that's right, Freebird. The best government's limited government. And why? Because the test you should run is anytime you're talking about giving the government some sort of power, assume that the person you like least will end up leading the government. Would you give that person the power? So if we say it's okay for our government to spy on American citizens, and you're a Democrat, would you want to give Donald Trump that power? Would you want to give Jeb Bush that power? Or George Bush that power? I certainly don't want to give Barack Obama that power, but he took it anyways. 35's way young. I don't feel it most of the time. Right, yeah, socialism's an unmitigated disaster. I agree. If you go back 2 years ago, I did a live stream on socialism for 2 hours. If you just type up my channel in socialism, maybe you can find it. But that's the beauty of limited government. It's also the difficulty of it. But the beauty is, I'm for limited government. So if you're a hardcore Republican or you're a hardcore Democrat, take those words. If you're a hardcore conservative or a hardcore liberal, guess what? My government still works for you. Because whether you really like me or really hate me, I only have a very limited things that I could do if I'm in charge of the government. If you say, no, I think the government should be massive like socialists and have all this power, well then as soon as the other side gets in power, they get that power that you wanted for yourself. But that's also the reason it's difficult over a long period of time to have limited government. Because, let's say you're a conservative and you're like, I'm for limited government, so you get elected. you say, well, I need to have the power now to get rid of the corruption of the other side. So I'll temporarily, right? We see it with deficit spending. Tea Party, massively against Obama deficit spending. As soon as Trump's in there, they're like, well, he has to have a deficit because to undo all the damage Obama did. But that's what everyone says. And then the government grows and grows and grows. Oh, yeah, we've never had real socialism. Yeah, I know. The no true Scotsman's fallacy. Yeah, we hear this all the time. Every single country you can point to that's socialist and show that it's been an unmitigated disaster, they say, oh, no, that's not real socialism. That's not real socialism. Milton Friedman said, God save us from the well-intended do-gooder who wants power. That's the most dangerous person, And they'll always say this. Jordan Peterson talks about it. The most dangerous person in the world, it says, if you gave me the power, I could make things better. That's how tyrants are born. The very person who says that is the last person you want to have power. I mean, people assume that Stalin and Mao started off like, yes, I can't wait to kill millions of people. That's not what happened. They thought, yeah, I'll do what's best for the country. Of course, they were power hungry. But they also thought through their achievement of power that the country would thrive. And then once they started to see the impediments to that and that it wasn't working out, well, they started the people that disagree with them. Maybe, you fine them in some way. Then maybe you jail them. Then maybe you kill them. And even if you're not that person, guess what? There's someone waiting in the wings that will just stab you in the back and then they'll take over the reins of power and they will be that person. We can see in everything the government touches, through corruption and through incompetence and bureaucracy, how failed it is. I mean, look at this response. The best responses, for example, to COVID were going to be microscopic responses. They're going to be responses that dealt with issues on a ground level, at the most localized level. Your county, your town could come up with a better response to COVID because they know the situation of your town and your county. When you have the same policy applied statewide like we did in Pennsylvania, here's the nonsense you have. Sullivan County in Pennsylvania, to date, I believe, Carlos, you could correct me if I'm wrong. To date, Sullivan County has had 2 cases of COVID. Yet it locked down with the rest of the state. My county of Clarion, I think, is up to 40-something now. It locked down with the rest of the state. Philadelphia and Clarion, same exact policy. That's what happens when you have a strong centralized government. Now, this was at the state level, but nonetheless, it would be even worse to have a universal plan federally because each of the states are different. Let's see. Bernie voice. Let me try here. We must shut down schools for the 1%. The children may not have schooling because the COVID virus is too bad. I will be comfortable in my third lake house with $600,000 as I avoid the COVID-19 virus. I'm not doing so well tonight. That's the problem with me and impressions. I never got how to keep them concise. I guess you have to practice them, but I tried. That's the best I got today. Right. I mean, I remember looking at communism as a kid, being like, the very first thought I had of communism was this. Well, if everybody makes the same, if we give everyone the same amount of money, who the heck will work? I probably had that thought when I was 11. It's like, so wait, you mean to tell me that I can either sit at home or go out and do backbreaking labor and I get the same amount of stuff? Well, I work. Any competition you've ever been in. I mean, I'm a lazy person. I am. Maybe you can tell by the weight. Where I thrived was in competition. I'll tell you a story. One of the reasons I got so good at debate was I joined, most people debated in high school, but you have 3 divisions. You have novice, JV, and open in the type of debate I did. Open's where all the people that debated in high school are. If you debated in high school, you probably went to a private school or, a good school. You debated 4 years in high school, and then you're not eligible for novice or JV debate in college. You have to go right into the open division. I didn't debate in high school, and I joined the second semester. So I started off in novice, but everyone that was in debate that I was debating had already been doing it for 4 or 5 months. So I was brand new, and the first debate tournament I went to, the second round, this team just, I'll do my little parlor trick. Let me bring it up. You read, like, for some reason in debate, you read, like, an auction. Well, not for some. I know why. They read like auctioneers, right? And one of the things you see at the low levels of debate, people practice reading so fast, but they don't practice thinking fast. So they could read fast, but then by the time it comes to them actually explaining what they read, they lack. So they might read like this. South Korean intelligence authorities said to be closely monitoring the North Sector B preparation launch a new submarine to fail in 2019. Yonhap underscores on the military intelligence submarine to believe 3,000 tons of capable carrying sail becomes under construction on naval bases on the eastern coast. It almost seemed ready to deploy. South Korean military told Yonhap we're closely watching when the North and holding the launch ceremony. So that's very slow, believe it or not, for debate. And that's how people would talk. So I go into my second debate round ever, and that's how people were talking. Needless to say, they beat me and my partner. So in the third round, I walk in, and my partner was pretty upset, and she's like, "Oh man, we just debated this team, and they talk so fast we couldn't understand them. How could you ever win in a debate?" with something like that. And no one will beat that team. And the team we're debating, the third round, says, "Oh really? Where were they from?" And I told them, they're like, "Yeah, we beat that team in round one." And then they proceeded to read like that, and they beat us. I remember their names, but I won't say it. But after the round, after we lost, the girl that just beat me looked at me and said, "Hey, don't worry, you're not the worst person I ever debated." And I was infuriated. Absolutely infuriated. I'm like, how dare you? Pity me. Like, I was so mad about that. And that's what drove me to get really good at debate. Because that feeling was like, I will not lose like that. I will not. And so that competition's what drove me. So where's the competition in communism? Remember, the Green New Deal said, we will pay people who don't feel like working. And by the way, we're seeing that experiment play out right now under COVID. There are people making more on unemployment than if they go back to work. So what do you think their decision's going to be? Yes, there are some people that are like, still, I want to go back to work. But a lot of people say, oh, okay, I guess I'll take more money to do nothing. I'm lagging now. Let me check here. It says it should be working. I don't know what's going on. It's more crappy equipment problems. Yeah. I don't have anything open. I assure you, I was talking really fast. So, it brought the chat back for everyone, so I can hear you if you're on D Live now. Great. Yeah, I agree with you about going back to work. Boredom does suck. Must be in sales. I'm not. I'm in home health care making crap money, but I do love what I do. I work with people with developmental disabilities, which it's hard to talk about because there's kind of, with HIPAA, if you're not familiar with this, HIPAA means that you can't really talk about medical issues of the people you take care of. But I can say this in general, it's been this virus and this lockdown is really tough with people with kind of developmental issues, which, by the way, they're some of my favorite people I've ever met in my life. You want to know what's amazing? When I work with people with autism or with other developmental issues, you don't want to know what... I'm not making this up. This is one of the things I find so inspiring and why I love this job. Let me first tell you how I got in this job. I was an assistant debate coach at Clarion University. I think it was 2009. Pennsylvania didn't pass their budget. I went into work one day and they're like, yeah, you're not getting paid. Budget didn't pass. See ya. So I put my name in everywhere. One of the places was working with people with autism and things like that in home health care. I put my name in because I had bills to pay. And they hired me, and I was like, how am I qualified for this? And I got to be honest with you, at the time I was basically a drunk. I was at the bar every other day. So I was like, well, okay. And I kind of did the job, and I kind of fell in love with it. And here's one of the reasons. You want to know what... And everyone's different, don't get me wrong. So I'm not trying to make too broad of a generalization. But in my experience of people I've worked with autism and, that had other differences with people in the average community, disabilities, most of them just want to fit in. Most people, you know what they want that I work with? A job, a girlfriend, friends, to be able to see their family. And I'm not kidding about a job. I really mean that. And so it's amazing to me to see someone that, they could sit around and complain about life. They've had medical curveballs thrown at them that they have no control over. Many people have been in terrible situations in institutions. But instead of complaining, you know what the first thing they want is? I'd like to get a job. Then I watch people that, have every advantage in the world. I just want unemployment. I just want to sit around. I don't want to work. Like, it infuriates me to see people with that mentality, because I watch people every day that inspire me, that have had challenges thrown at them their entire life, that overcome those challenges or are doing their best to overcome it. And so to see people that had all these advantages, that's why, like, it's funny. I grew up poor. I grew up in rural Pennsylvania. I consider myself one of the luckiest human beings that have ever been alive. I really mean that. Like, my parents did the best they could. They're awesome people. They put me in a position to be where I'm at today. I screwed around and drank my way through college and took way too long to get there. So I have a lot of debt. What am I going to do? Go with the Bernie Sanders plan? Hey, you all should have to pay my tuition because I acted a fool in college. No, that's on me. I did it. So I don't know. That's one of the reasons I love my job, because I saw that footage, Rational Wrong Thinking. That footage was particularly disturbing. There's other footage you could find like that. What he's talking about is the boxer guy that beat up the nursing home patient. Look, I can tell you, anyone who works in healthcare, in long-term care facilities like me, again, I don't do elderly, I do people with disabilities. It's disgusting how common abuse is. It's absolutely heart-wrenchingly disgusting. Physical abuse, sexual abuse. I mean, I know, you might not trust all the studies and the statistics that are out there, but I mean, in some cases, it's like you have something like a 70% more chance to be a victim of abuse if you are in a care facility, in a nursing home, or a facility to take care of people with disabilities. The advantage people take, like taking their money and their possessions, it's terrible. It really is. And called a woman 2 weeks ago on our radio show who's an advocate for nursing homes. And, one of the points she made that I think's very true is, hopefully, as we're now starting to serve people like Cuomo and Tom Wolf that had these policies that put COVID patients in nursing homes, knowing that it would spread to the most vulnerable populations. Now that that's being brought to attention, maybe one silver lining could be we start to treat these facilities better. We start to treat the people that we put there better and with more dignity, and make sure that they're not being abused, in other ways. So, hopefully that's something that could come of this. That story in particular, I have not been able to independently confirm this, and I'm really trying to. But I am reading that boxer, the young guy who's like 22, that beat up the old gentleman in that video and then got arrested, I'm reading, I thought he was an employee there, but it turns out what I'm reading is he wasn't. He was a COVID patient. And this is according to reporting from his dad, from this boxer's dad. He got diagnosed with COVID, and so they put him in the nursing home for a couple weeks. Which, if it's true, that means not only was the governor of Michigan, Whitmer, putting elderly citizens that got diagnosed with COVID back in the nursing home, which thereby led to the spread of the disease and why 68% of the people in Michigan that have passed away are from nursing homes, but they're actually taking young people and putting them in nursing homes to spread the disease? That's outrageous. It's bad enough as is. And Cuomo and Wolf and Whitmer and Murphy and all the other governors that did this should be investigated and removed for that. But to actually then put sick young people, think about this. I can't get over it. People are getting tired of me talking about it. I know it, but how was it that me, just some schlub, which is the word of the day, I guess, I'm no epidemiologist. How did I know in mid-March? The first thing I said, our reaction to this shouldn't be a lockdown. It should be protecting the most vulnerable populations. How did I know that? Before it was being widely reported, before that was popular to say that. I knew that right out of the gate. How was it? What just made sense? And somehow, our elected officials, our leaders, did the exact opposite. They intentionally caused the spread of the virus to the most vulnerable population. Yeah, right, Rational. Almost like they wanted people to die in large numbers. And again, it gets back to a debate I have in my head and on my channel all the time. Are these people corrupt or are they incompetent? But the answer that I'm coming up with more and more is, does it matter? Either way, they shouldn't be our leaders. I lean towards corrupt. But either way, how stupid do you have to be? Yeah, Freebird, you're right. And then Secretary Levine, as she's telling us all, hey, nursing homes, they're all going to get tested. We're going to make sure the testing's done there. They're going to have the resources. Everything will be fine in nursing homes. She pulls her mom out of a nursing home and puts them in a hotel. Her defense, I kid you not, is, well, it wasn't technically a nursing home. It was a long-term care facility. Yeah, she should be investigated. You know, I was trying to start this campaign. Yes, we need criminal indictments of people that engage in crimes. Your Comeys, your Clappers, possibly your Wolfs, your Levines. I don't know that it'll get that level with them. But we need to start bringing back shame. Remember when, you know, in my grandparents' days, where if you acted like a hypocrite, like if you were a preacher, for example, and you said adultery is the worst thing and blah, 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 and then you got caught cheating on your wife, you were shamed. People shamed you. They said, that's terrible. You know, you wouldn't go on TV and say, believe all women, and then the very next day say, oh, but not that woman, because she accused someone I like. That's shameful. You wouldn't say, oh, you should be totally comfortable to put everyone in nursing homes and then remove your mother out of a nursing home. It's shameful. You wouldn't say, people that disagree with me in the lockdown want old people to die and then issue policies that directly led to old people dying. It's shameful. We need to start calling out this hypocrisy as a culture, whether it's on the left or the right, whether you're a liberal or conservative. Can we agree to start calling this out or nothing's going to change? Hell, it's like people are proud of their double standards now. See you, DM Mod. Thanks a lot for being here. I really appreciate it. Mods are the best. All right, I'll probably go another 15 minutes. Any particular topic? Have I missed everything? Any off-the-wall topics anyone wanted me to address? Let's see. Yeah, I mean, their mantra is the ends justify the means, of course. And that's exactly what I was talking about with the Obamagate. They feel they're morally superior. You know? You could tell me, there are people that will tell me, I would be insane to think that Tom Wolfe wanted people to die. Okay? Fine. Well, if that's your belief, he did something that even a third grader would know would be ridiculous. He said, hey, old people, you can't disagree with me because this virus is going to kill old people. So you have to give me all the power to take away your rights, or else you want old people to die. That's what he said, right? Okay? And then he said, so here's what I'm going to do. All of you healthy people, we're not going to let you work anymore. And then instead of giving the resources to the senior citizens, we're going to spread it out everywhere because I collapsed our state economy. And then I'm going to take sick old people and make sure that they're locked in with other old people. That way the virus spreads all throughout those nursing homes where the old people are. What explanation is there other than, one, he wanted the virus to spread there, or two, he is so incompetent he shouldn't be managing a McDonald's, let alone a state? What other explanation is there? And then when him and Cuomo and them get caught, they're like, oh, it's Trump's fault. Ridiculous. And I've had plenty to say negative about Trump on this episode here. Yeah, Wolf said close until the vaccine. I mean, they change every day. You know, so would I do a parody song one day? Yeah, I could do that. I am the local karaoke champion. And so I could do a parody song one day, perhaps. Yeah, why does the media drain Trump and not Cuomo? Well, you know the answer. Because they're not journalists. They're propagandists. They are cooking numbers in Bucks County as well, yes. Rachel is not the mayor of Chicago. I forget that woman's name. The Rachel they're referencing is Rachel Levine, who is the Secretary of Health in Pennsylvania, that moved her mother out of a nursing home while she issued policies to basically kill people in nursing homes and told us all that they were safe. So, yeah, that's what was going on there. So, yeah, I mean, this story will continue. What you'll see is, and again, I want to stress this. I'm right already. Even with the numbers we see right now, inflated as they are, even if you take them all at face value, it's clear that the lockdown wasn't warranted. It's clear. And it's clear, even if you did and this is where Like, I try to meet the people. Look, I'm very passionate about this. I yell and scream a lot. I know a lot of people don't like it. It's who I am. Sorry, but I could be more level-headed at times as well. It just depends on how I'm feeling that day. I do understand the need that I can't just be smug and be like, see, I told you, anyone who thought the lockdown was a good idea. That's not helping. I get it. I will say that maybe next time, if you're someone who thought the lockdown was good, you should remember this time, right? But I've been trying to reach out and say this to people. Look, okay, we'll disagree on should the lockdown have happened. Maybe you were for the lockdown. But can we at least agree on this? If we were going to do a lockdown, there was a right way to do it. And we didn't do that. At any level. At least in my state and what I see in most states. They should have been transparent with the numbers. Most states weren't. If you're going to have a lockdown, then you lock down. You don't say, we'll lock down. Well, but you could all hang out at Walmart and the candy stores open and the tire shop's open and, your place of work isn't. You can't go to the church, but you go to the liquor store. That doesn't do anything. Doing a half lockdown only gives you all of the cost of the lockdown and all of the cost of the disease. The only way a lockdown would be worth it is if you do a full lockdown to try to prevent the disease. But saying, well, it's a really deadly apocalyptic disease, but hey, feel free to go to the candy store. Go ahead. It's ridiculous. It's because the intent of these policies was not to solve the virus. The intent of the policies was to destroy the working class Americans. That was the intent. And it's working. And by the way, to the extent that people are getting fed up, don't get me wrong, there have been some good leaders on this. Not many. I'd like to see a lot more. But there have been some good ones. But did you notice the change is happening not because of the elected leaders, but because the people are just like, we're done with this. Did you see footage from, where was it, Ocean City today? Thousands of people. I saw it. My little town, there's a forest, a national forest called Cook Forest. So one of the things that happens in my little town is there are all these vacationers that come at this time of year. Memorial Day, one of the biggest weekends of the year. But all throughout spring. When you were in high school around here, your job in the summer was you worked at like the go-kart place, or you worked at the mini golf place, or the swimming pool, or the horse stable. All throughout this forest. It's beautiful. It's fantastic. Cook Forest. Look it up. Fantastic place. And you go through just miles and miles of just all this like fun, summery stuff to do. Little restaurants and little niche shops, that sell crafts and things like that. Devastated. They're all locked down. Now, our county's still yellow until Friday. I drove through Saturday. You know what I saw? All of them open. Hundreds of people at them riding go-karts, swimming. No one wearing a mask. They don't care. They don't care anymore. Because they could see that the leaders don't care. If the leaders cared, they wouldn't be telling you you have to wear a mask while they're not. They wouldn't be telling you you can't go get your hair cut while they were doing it. They wouldn't be telling you we need to spend trillions to fight this because it's a sacrifice and it's an emergency while they're giving $25 million to the Kennedy Arts Center and to Planned Parenthood and all these other places that have nothing to do with fighting the virus. They wouldn't be telling you, oh, the nursing homes are safe while they're moving their mothers out of nursing homes. So the media can say what they want, but people are tired of it. They're willing to make a sacrifice initially. My buddy Tom, who helped run my campaign, he texts me, he's from Center County. Center County, the only way you would know it is Penn State football. That's in Center County. State College, Pennsylvania, right? He lives in that area. He texts me, he's like, he was for the lockdown, and he's like, so the governor says that we're supposed to go green because the science and the amount of COVID patients are at a low enough level that they could go green and basically open up this Friday. But the commissioners of Center County said no. And so now they're staying yellow. And he's like, what sense is that? Either the science matters or it doesn't. And I was like, yeah, that's been the whole issue. The entire time that's what's been going on. It's just totally arbitrary. And the people see that. So the people are like, you know what, we're not going to listen. And yes, you have these tyrants that are like, well, then we'll revoke your gym license. We'll take away your liquor license. We'll take away your haircut license. And that stuff's happening. But you can't do it to everyone. And in mass, people are just going to start going, we don't care. And guess what? The apocalypse we were told would happen if we didn't stay locked down till there was a vaccine, it's not happening. Thanks, Brady. Thanks for being here, man. Let's see. Sniffing. Joe Biden sniffing. Yeah. Not much to say about that other than, yeah. At least he had a mask on today, right? So, where's Hunter? I don't know. Hopefully Lindsey Graham gets around to those subpoenas finally, huh? Good job, Lindsey. But that's the real lesson. The government's power over us is only because we consent. If enough of us say, I'm not advocating violence or anything of the sort. I deplore political violence. But what I am saying is, you know your rights. You know when the governor says you can go to the liquor store but not to church, that it's garbage. You know that. You know when Governor Whitmer says in Michigan, you can't buy seeds, you can't plant your own food. That's ridiculous. You know it. You don't need some high-minded constitutional attorney or, law school student or scholar to tell you, oh, well, technically, blah, blah, blah. Ridiculous. Yeah, they're in rainbow phase in San Francisco. When's hypodermic needle phase? In San Fran. And by the way, that's something I don't hear people talking about. Remember this. The same people that are telling you that you need to lock down, primarily the Democrats, right? Oh, you need to lock down. You got to wear that mask, blah, blah, blah. Anytime you're talking about a pandemic, what's some of the things that are going to cause it? Well, population density, which you can't blame Democrats for that. I get, right? If the cities tend to vote Democrat and there are a lot of people living in close quarters, that's understandable. So I don't blame them on that. But what side of other things? Not having control, who comes in and out of your area. That's why you see Democrats all the time recommend setting up gates to keep people out of beaches and parks and things. Gates? Wait a minute. Why would a gate work? That's just, in effect, a barrier, like a wall, right? You mean that gate might keep people out of there? Oh, shocking. Or how about intravenous drug use? The very policies that the Democrats pushed on us of open borders and free drug use and people defecating in streets, all of those things massively spread any virus. And so for them to virtue signal and say, oh, you're racist if you're not for, if you want the wall, you're racist. You're racist if you don't like illegal immigration. You're racist if you don't like hypodermic needles and defecation on the street. You don't care about poor people then. All of that crap we had to put up with. Now that there's a virus, the cost of that is, oh, now you average Americans that we called racist that said there could be a problem with things like disease because of this, now we need you to sacrifice and stay locked up at home. And then they have the nerve to be like, oh, well, if you would just trust it, give us power. I hear people tweeting, Mika Brzezinski tweeted this today, 100,000 dead under Trump's watch. I criticize Trump, but my problem with Trump is he went along too much with the Democrat plans. Please, if you're blaming 100,000 deaths on Trump, could you explain to me exactly? So it could have been 0 deaths? Is that your claim? Okay, what would have Joe Biden done if he was president? What would Hillary have done that would have led to 0 deaths? Care to explain? More open borders? Less restrictions from travel from places like China? It's utter nonsense. Again, it's just like Tom Wolf. What's happening with Cuomo and Tom Wolf? It's, in a nutshell, my problem and what I complain about the Democrats all the time. So Tom Wolf says, he starts up step 1. He says, I need to take your rights away and collapse the economy. If you disagree with me, you want old people to die. This is absurd out of the get-go. We could see that that's absurd. But that's the line they used. Nationally, that was the line. Lockdown or you want old people to die. That was what was used. Okay? Step number 2. Use the lockdown as an excuse to overstep and actually put old people in a position where they're most likely to die. Step 3, old people die, point to their deaths as proof that you were right. So you set the conditions up to exacerbate the problem and then point to the problem and say, see, I was right, it's a big problem. That's exactly what we see. We need illegal immigration. We need policies of people defecating on the street. We need all this. Oh, there's a virus? See, that's why you need to elect the Democrats. You did that. They don't think it's a problem putting you in a cage, locking you in your house. They don't think that's a problem at all. They don't have a problem with locking you up if you want to open your business during COVID. They think that's fine. They think it's unpatriotic. Hell, Governor Wolf said he said this. I swear to you, he said this. Governor Wolf said the people that want to open up are cowards. Then he threatened to take away their funding and their licensing. So if you're not deathly afraid of the virus to the point where you want to stay in your basement, you're a coward. You get that? You see how that works? If you're not afraid of the virus, you're a coward. You can't make this stuff up. Yeah, I will be fighting back in Pennsylvania. And I'll leave you with this. I say this a lot, but run for office, everyone. Do what you can. Start your own channel. If you don't do that, talk to your neighbors. Just talk about this corruption. You don't have to be someone you're not. You don't have to be a genius. You don't have to yell or scream like I do sometimes. Just be yourself. But it's time to wake up. These leaders aren't leaders. They're terrible. And it's time to take back our state and our country. So, someone says rational is right. That'd be a first, wouldn't it, rational? You say no one would have died of the coronavirus. It would have been like the flu, suicide if Hillary won and things like that. Yeah, that's right. If it wasn't Trump, they would have just said it would have been like H1N1. You're absolutely right. They didn't start, again, I said this early, I don't believe like the Democrats unleashed the virus, but they're experts at exploiting it. They were looking for a reason to collapse the economy. This fell in their lap. They were like, yep, sounds good. Let's do it. So that's exactly what I think happened. So, all right, it's 12:15. So yeah, just I guess some programming notes. Like I said at the beginning, I'm going to try to start a consistent schedule. That schedule is going to look like Monday nights. It'll either be 10 or 11 Monday nights. I'll come up with the best. By the way, the reason it's so late, Monday I work. I can't really do my videos while I'm working with the people I work with. So that's why it has to be this late. But late Monday nights, 10 or 11, every Monday night, I'm going to be doing this show. It's going to be, I wanted to take some calls today, but it'll be, the worst things I do in these live streams is I don't follow the chat. So I'm really trying to follow the chats, do fan interaction on Mondays. I might start doing D-Live only videos on Tuesdays. Wednesdays at around 2:30 p.m. Eastern time, so that'll be a daytime thing. I'm going to do a live stream every Wednesday. Thursday, I might be collaborating with Sarah still. I got to see what's going on with our schedules. Saturday, I got the radio show. And then, look, almost every day. Weekends will be a little... You never know about weekends. You go out and get drunk with friends. You don't get to the YouTube that day, But, I'm going to try, other than that, to put out at least one short-form video every day at some point throughout the day. So I know people are getting unsubscribed. I know notifications don't show up. I guess I know you know this. It's not me doing it. It's YouTube. I don't know. So, yeah, and I will be taking call-ins. I promise. Monday, starting next Monday, I'll make sure the second hour is all call-ins. And you call in and say whatever you want. It'll be cool with me. Even if you disagree, that's absolutely fine. And I've had plenty of people on my show that disagree with me. So, yeah, Monday nights, live stream. Tuesday, D-Live only. Wednesday, 2:30 p.m. live stream. Saturday, the radio show with me, Carlos, and Todd Bartley, which I'll have more information on how to listen to us both online and on the radio. So that'll be coming up. So, yeah, and thank you. I will have a good day tomorrow. And I hope all of you had a wonderful Memorial Day. Even if you're like Rational and you're in a country. Rational, Australia, do you guys have a similar... Do you have a Memorial Day over there? I assume it's not the same day, but I would assume you have a sort of a Veterans Day or a day honoring people that have passed away defending Australia. So, but as an official spokesperson from the United States, I give you permission to celebrate Memorial Day today, Rational. So, but yeah, I mean, it's, you don't realize, one of the blessings, I guess, it's not really a blessing, but sometimes you don't appreciate your freedom until someone tries to take it away. And so what I've seen these past couple days of people just out there enjoying the sunshine, enjoying, our beautiful country it's been great to see. So, oh, okay. So yeah, awesome. So yeah, I hope everyone had a great day. I'm humbled to each and every one of you that watch me. I really am. Please consider liking and subscribing to my D-Live, my YouTube, my Twitter feed. If you haven't already. And if you really want to help me, if you share some of those short form videos on whatever platforms you have, I'd really appreciate it. So, all right. Thanks, everyone. I got to get to bed here, but thank you so much. We'll talk to you. Look for me on D Live tomorrow. By the way, if you're looking for me on D Live, it's either Rob Noor or I'm going to try to change it to Normal America with Rob Noor. So yeah, I also, again, one last thought, to those that sacrifice what Memorial Day is all about and anyone who served as a veteran. So thanks so much, everyone. You guys are the best. We'll talk to you soon. Have a good one.